Jiu-Jitsu is the most efficient self-defense art. After the first UFC, 3 fights in one night, beat everybody, I actually called my father. I was like, Daddy, how do I deal with fame? He's like, don't never forget where you came from. Be humble. My father used to say, give me the right leverage and I'll lift the world. I don't believe in good student or bad student. There's good teachers and bad teachers.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we applied that rule to every facet of education?
Every school should have it. Toxic masculinity, whatever you call that. I don't even know how to pronounce that because I don't believe on that. Men have to be men. Boys have to be boys.
What are your thoughts on what is happening in Brazil right now?
I call Brazil a fake freedom. If America falls, where would we go?
There is so much for me to learn about jiu-jitsu. I am so glad you're here because the first time I heard about this is actually this amazing martial arts is actually from kids. I learned about jiu-jitsu from children because it has had such an impact on our culture, on young boys, on young girls. And so to have you here, Royce Gracie, to teach me everything I need to learn about this incredible organization that your family built is just, it's kismet. It's incredible. So welcome to PragerU.
Thank you for having me.
What is jiu-jitsu and how did your family come into developing this incredible movement? I think it's worth calling it a movement.
Jiu-Jitsu is a self-defense art. Boxing, I would say karate is offense. They hit or they don't hit. Jiu-Jitsu is self-defense. So I don't have to hit somebody. I can just escape from whatever aggression. Somebody grab me trying to choke me or trying to swing a punch at me. I can defend myself and get away or subdue the opponent without having to hurt. And that's why my brother created the UFC. And a lot of people took the wrong way, thinking, oh, the Gracies are just challenging people to fight and wants to beat them up. And no. We just want to prove it to ourselves that what we know works. I fought a guy who was 6'8", 490 pounds. Before the fight, everybody's like, are you out of your mind? He's too big. There's no way you can outpunch and kick him. He's a sumo wrestler. There's no way you can take him down. But it's strategy. My father at the time set up this strategy, brought him to the ground. I brought him on top of me on the ground, and I was able to subdue him from the bottom. After the fight, of course, a lot of people was like, oh yeah, you won because he's fat and big and fat. Walk up to a 6'8", that's what I tell them. Well, go up to a 6'8", 490 pounds, slap him on the face, and you see how fat and slow he is. He'll run right through you like a freight train. Those are personal qualities. Speed, strength, size, power. It's a personal quality. On the end of the day, you have to know what to do. Like anything in life. I don't know how to play American football. Doesn't matter how fast I am. You put me in the field. It's like a track and field. The fastest track and field man on the world, the 100-meter dash. Throw him in a pool. He doesn't know how to swim. He'll drown. Get the fastest swimmer. Put him in the track. It's a different game. Mm-hmm. So you got to know what you're doing.
So there's a lot of technique to it.
Oh, it's all based on technique. All based on technique. Of course, okay, if we both have the same technique, then the size, the speed, it's a plus. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter how big you are, how strong you are. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to swim, it will be a problem.
Do you think jiu-jitsu is one of those things that more people can get good at as long as they train properly, where maybe some other sports you're just kind of born to be good at? So runners, for example, some kids are just naturally amazing runners, or I'll watch my kids on the soccer field. Some kids are just agile. They have that ability. And so, you know, they obviously training more is very important, but they're born to be very good at soccer. They're just great at it. Is jiu-jitsu like that? Or is it one of those things where your born characteristics may not matter so much if you put the discipline, the mindset, and the training into it?
In jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter. If you have a good instructor, you will learn. You'll learn. Doesn't matter. Some people are different. Some are big, some are small, some are strong, some are agile, some are fast. So it's like those are personal qualities. It doesn't matter.
It's amazing because then there's no excuse to not do it.
So everyone can learn as long as you have a good instructor. Like I always say, I don't believe in good student or bad student. There's good teachers and bad teachers. If you don't learn, I consider it's my fault. So I see a lot of instructors, a lot of teachers, not just martial art, but in soccer or basketball. Oh, he's not good. He's not made for this. It's my job as a coach to teach, to make that kid good. It's very easy to get a kid that's already awesome and make him a little better or claim that he's great because he plays for me. No. Get one that doesn't know what he's doing and make him good. That's a good instructor. That's a good teacher.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we applied that rule to every facet of education, where it's always the responsibility of the educator to actually make class interesting and informative, and that kids actually perform based on the challenge that is put in front of the teacher rather than blaming the kids for why they're behind or blaming society or whatever it is?
It should be that way. I totally believe it should be that way. That is, if my kid go to school and he doesn't learn, it's the teacher's fault. They did their job. They show up to school. It's the teacher's job to teach them. So it's very easy to say, the kid's, it's his fault. He's not paying attention. Well, make him pay attention. When I teach classes, I get to classes and I see the kids are not paying attention. I got to figure out fast, why is he not paying attention? You see? And I figure out. And I'll figure out. I'll break them. I'll figure out why they're not paying attention.
Who are the type of kids that you think are engaged in jiu-jitsu, or people in general? Who's interested in this kind of martial arts?
In martial arts in general, people that get interested is because something happened to them. Or for kids, something happened to the parents. And they put the kids because they don't want it to happen to the kids. Maybe they saw in a movie. Maybe they were driving down the street and saw something happening to somebody. And they put themselves, their mind works, what if it was me? I don't know what to do. Or maybe it happened to the person at one time. And I tell my students that sometimes maybe it happened to you at one time. Somebody came up to you and was like, dude, next time you get in front of me, I'm going to break your neck. I'm going to break your face. And you didn't know what to do. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, man. You're bigger than me. I'm sorry. You put your head down and you walk away. You go home upset and you can't sleep for one night. But then you forget it. But that bug stays deep inside your head. So you don't want it to happen again. Then a friend of yours come over and say, hey, let's go learn some martial arts so you can defend yourself. You don't know why you're going over there, but you're going because you forgot about it, but it's still there, that bug.
Do you think that somebody could really defend themselves on the street with jiu-jitsu? If let's say, Los Angeles is becoming more and more dangerous. I know you grew up in Brazil. Do you feel like you and your family would use jiu-jitsu as a way to really defend yourselves outside of the competition?
More than defending yourself, okay, it's be able to avoid, be able to see it coming. It's to be able to, I don't drink. One of the reasons my father always convinced us, the way he convinced us, my father never drank, is convinced us not to drink, was you drink, your alarm system goes down. Now you relax. The good things about life. Sorry, I can't have the alarm system go down. And I'm not paranoid, but I'm always watching behind my backs. Who's coming? Who's talking? The way you approach me, calling my name. It's like, whoa, I'm going to approach. What's the problem, my friend? My hands are going to be up already. What's the problem? What did I do? I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. If I'm not wrong, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk. Prove it to me that I'm wrong. But my hands are going to be up the way you approach me. You see, it's like, I'm not going to walk in straight into fight, but be able to avoid that, be able to detect. And martial art gives you that. Jiu-Jitsu gives you that.
So to you, jiu-jitsu is not just a sport. It's a way of life. I mean, you have an entire environment that you set up for it. The way you eat, the way, I guess, you don't drink, your entire mindset. It's like morning to night. the Gracie method?
It's a way of life. People ask me, when do you train? When you do not train? I consider from the time that I open my eyes in the morning until nighttime, until I go to sleep, I'm training. I consider resting part of my training. Eating is part of the training. I can be a beast in the gym, beat everybody up, but then go ahead and go get drunk and go get, to loosen up, to relax and smoke weed. Sorry, I don't do that.
You don't do any of that?
No. And eat junk food and no. I'm a full-time professional athlete, let's say. Not a part-time, not to tell people, hey, I'm a professional athlete. You want a drink? No, I'm a full-time professional athlete.
And you don't compete anymore. And so you're still doing the full-time professional athlete as a way of life, even though you're not engaged in competitions anymore. Is that right?
Correct. That means I have a lot of discipline.
So what? Okay, so I know you don't drink any alcohol. What do you eat? Is it like keto or vegan or what is that?
We eat everything on the Gracie diet. It's considered, we call Gracie diet, but it's not exactly a diet. It's more of an eating habits. We just combine the food towards an easy digestion. So we eat everything. We just combine. When do you get sick? You get sick when you stress out because your car is not selling, your house for sale is not selling, and the kids are having trouble at school, and you're working extra hours, and you're working out, and your body is running low, your immune system is low, and then you eat a typical a junk food meal or a heavy meal that's you can feel that when you eat, you go, oh my God, I think I ate too much. That feeling. Whew, everybody felt that one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take a nap and you wake up and you got sick because the little bit of leftover that you have of energy of your immune system goes down to digest that food. That's when you get sick. And then what do? You blame, if you live in the hot weather, if you live in Hawaii, you're going to say because it's hot outside. If you live in Vermont, oh my God, it's cold outside. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with the heat, the cold, the air conditioning, the fan. People blame everything else besides what you put on your body.
So you're not going to go for the second piece of pie?
I'm not going for the pie.
No pie. What if you're at the movies? Will you eat popcorn?
No.
No snacks?
No.
Steak? Will you eat steak?
Oh, yes. I'm a hunter. I hunt to eat, not to trophies. I'm not a big trophy hunter. I can't eat the antlers. But I had an argument one time with my own family. They got on my case that, oh my God, you're killing for the fun of it. No, just for fun. No, I eat what I hunt. There's no, the hides at my house, the leftovers that we don't eat, the guts, the other animals who eat to go back to earth. So yes, we all eat what we hunt.
So you'll eat meat. Will you eat pasta or bread or things like that?
We eat everything. The only thing we don't eat is pork. It's just pork is just because it's a dirty animal. So even though they say pig is very clean today, we still not eating.
It's like part of the tradition, I guess.
Part of the tradition.
I want to know more about your family.
It's very interesting family.
I'm sure it's very interesting. And so first of all,
my father used to say we're like a society in a small scale.
Because there are so many of you.
We got everything in my family. So we got all types in there. It's a big family.
How many siblings do you have? How many cousins do you have? Just kind of give me a sense of what you mean by big.
The time that we put a count was my father had 9 kids. One uncle, because there were 5 of them, but Uncle Carlos, him and my father stuck around. The other ones kind of move away a little bit. Uncle Carlos had 21 kids, 11 boys, 10 girls. My father had 7 boys, 2 girls. Together, just those two have over 100 grandchildren, over 50 great-grandchildren, and still growing. Every time we finish count, there's a new one born. It's like, we got to count it again.
Yeah, though that is definitely a massive family, for sure. Most of them still live in Brazil?
I think we're all over the world. If we hold hands, we go around from every country, every continent. Yes, we have Gracies everywhere.
How many of your siblings are involved in jiu-jitsu?
I would say most of them. teaching, a lot of the boys, the men teach. The girls are involved on clothing, making books with Gracie diets and the recipe books, and some of them teach. So some of them, one time I did an interview and they asked me if I like girls fighting. I was like, man, I prefer my girl feminine, not as a fighter. Oh, a couple nieces call me up. It's like, what do you mean? If I fight, you're not going to like me anymore? I was like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
You want to fight? I'll be on your corner. It's my preference. And it's like, I like to protect the woman, not having the woman fighting and beating up, but it's a free country. You want to do it? Let's go. I'll train you. I told my niece.
How close are you with your family? It seems like it's such a big part of your life. You're the whole Gracie world, right?
They're my inspiration. I grew up looking up to all of them. My uncles, my father, my brothers, my cousins, everyone.
Your brother, it was your older brother who started the fighting here in the United States. Is that right? Just tell me a little bit about the history of how Jiu-Jitsu came from Brazil to the United States and then to the world.
Well, it wasn't just came over. My brother came over to visit, and about a few days over here in America, he got his passport, his ticket back to Brazil, his money stolen. So he was panhandling for the first year that he stayed in America. Horion was panhandling, sleep on the streets, on the beach in California, and just survived, sleeping on construction sites. Went back to Brazil, and then he was too ashamed to call Brazil and ask for money. So he would call home and it's like, no, everything's good. Everything's great. I love America. It's awesome. Sleep on the streets and then survive for a year. They reimbursed his ticket home back to Brazil because nobody used the ticket. And when he went back to Brazil, he got into law school, became a lawyer, and then came back to America again. And then hitchhiked from New York to LA back in the 70s and was working in restaurants, and there was no jiu-jitsu back then until he got together with his roommate that he rented a house. He was renting a room. The guy had mats. So he cleaned up the garage, opened up a space, put the mats down, and started teaching his roommate. The roommate liked it, brought a friend over, and the friends would bring a friend, and it's just one telling the other. It started bringing people. That's when I came in years later, and would teach in the garage, and would teach from 8:30 in the morning until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and start again 3:30, 4 o'clock. Just every half an hour, there's a new person coming in, take a private and leave. The next one, take a private. We got to the point that we had about over 150 students in a waiting list. Today, people will open up a school. They have a successful school with 150 students. We have 150 on a waiting list waiting. If somebody cancel the class, I'll come over and take the half an hour private.
It was word of mouth, guerrilla marketing.
Totally. And then there was no advertising, magazines and newspaper. No. That's when we opened up the first Gracie Academy. And still just the word of mouth. So one tell another. But then my brother realized if we bring the concept from Brazil to America and create the UFC, but instead single fights, because in Brazil it was just single fights. If we put a tournament, 8-man tournament, with no gloves, no rules, no time limit, no weight division, it will be let's try that out.
Sounds dangerous, actually.
It is danger, but they are not just people that came from the streets. They are martial artist people, so they know what they're doing. They are, the referee can stop the fight at any minute, at any point. The doctor can step in and stop the fight and call it. The corner man can throw the towel and say, stop, my fighter had enough. The fighter can stop the fight. So there's a lot of people watching. The doctors, before you even get on the cage, they do a test, all kind of tests on you, make sure you're healthy and clean, and you can step in the cage. So yes, danger. Yes, there's always a danger when it's a contact sport, but there's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of people, and they're professional. People think that it's just people from the street. We just got some bum from the street to fight. No, these people have been doing martial art forever.
What did your dad expect you to do? What did he ask you to do when people say Royce was the one who was chosen to bring jiu-jitsu to the world? What did he ask you and expect you to do?
My brothers, my cousins, they all fought before at one time or another. They all had fight on the streets back in Brazil. I never had a fight. So my father knew I was going to obey his orders. His orders was, do not hurt your opponents. Instead,
why did you never have a fight? Were you just kind of more demure, or you didn't have an opportunity to? Like, why?
Never walk away from one. It was like, I think people can, I don't know, as a kid growing up, everybody already knew my family's name. So protection from the older ones. So I don't know, it's like, maybe they read on my forehead, don't F with me, with blinking lights going around.
Or was it that you had like restraint, that you're able to stop yourself from getting into unnecessary trouble? Is that what your father saw in you in that way?
No, I don't think it was that because growing up, my family, I grew up telling my kids this. That's what I learned from my father. It's my job as a father to get you out of trouble. If you don't do your job, kid, I can do mine.
Yeah.
Go, get in trouble, be a kid. So,
Well, you're 9 siblings, 7 boys.
2 girls, yes.
You're somewhere in the middle, and somehow you were chosen to do what? To teach jiu-jitsu in America?
When I first came over here, I came over to babysit my brother's kids.
Oh, that's what you were chosen to do. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. I was babysitting his kids, learning how to speak the language and learning how to teach it back in the garage days. When they opened up the Grace Academy, I was full-time teaching. And then when they created, my brother created the UFC, Horton created the UFC, he chose me, him and my father, because they knew I was going to obey my father's orders. Do not hurt your opponents.
Oh, okay.
Beat them up, subdue them, but do not draw any blood. Don't elbow smash their faces. Don't hurt them. So that was my father. The other brothers and cousins, some were bigger, who probably wouldn't be as impressive. You see, because their physique, they built like Zeus. And some were smaller, they would do the same job, but might take a little longer. I would say I was probably on the right weight at the right time to display the technique of a smaller person, be able to defend yourself. Again, I was able to defend myself and subdue when somebody bigger and stronger.
Could you have said no?
I could have. I could have said no.
You felt like you were allowed to say no if you wanted to?
But again, growing up with my family, I want to prove it to them that I can do it. I grew up like, put me in, coach. Put me in. I want to show it to them that I can do it.
Do you feel like they're proud of you? Do you feel like you got the affirmation that you're hoping to show them?
I think they're proud, but not because of me, because I was able to display the technique. That's what I tell people all the time. I saw you fighting. I tell them, you never saw me fighting. You saw the technique. Wasn't this beautiful face that you saw? I was just happened to be the face, but it was the technique that impressed everybody.
So you feel like you kind of give the honor and the legacy to your entire family through your work. So it's not necessarily about you. It's about you becoming a vehicle for what your entire family developed and put their energy behind.
It didn't start with me. I tell people I'm a product of my father's work. So what him and Uncle Carlos did at creating, developing jiu-jitsu, making it easy and putting the techniques, it's what my cousins did. And then my brothers did, the older brothers and the older cousins, they all do what they did before me. I'm learning from them. I just want to continue the tradition.
How do you deal with such level of fame? I mean, I see videos of you online with millions of views. I'm sure that you'll go to many places. People probably recognize you. How do you cope with fame like that?
I actually called my father about that. After the first UFC, 3 fights in one night, beat everybody together. It was like 5 minutes, 6 minute work. Beating 3 guys in 6 minutes. They're professional on their styles. I called him up after that. He was there, but after he left to Brazil, I called him. I was like, Dad, how do I deal with that? With fame? It's like, you went through that, so how you... He's like, don't never forget where you came from. Be humble. So understand, yes, what won wasn't you. You didn't win. Jiu-Jitsu won. You prove it to the world. Take Jiu-Jitsu away from me, I'm an average person. I'm still an average person. I just can see the fighting in a different way. I can understand. So it's not me. It's the power of Jiu-Jitsu, he used to say.
But the victories don't, I guess, get your drunken ego.
I know where I came from, and I respect my opponents.
Is that part of the discipline of being able to control your mind in that way, where you remind yourself of, I guess, the perspective of where you came from and where you're headed? Is that part of that art of jiu-jitsu, of discipline in that way?
Yes, I would say yes. You got to keep a study. You win, Royce, you won $1 gazillion. I'm going to be nice. Thank you. I'm not going to change. Royce, you lost $1 gazillion. Okay. Emotional balance.
What about nerves? Do you get nervous
Before the fight?
before a fight?
No, I'm asleep before the fight. My brothers have to come in, tickle my head, my face, and it's like nicely.
You take a nap before a fight?
I'm asleep. They got to come in nicely and whisper.
How do you fall asleep?
Can you please get up, brother? You need to stretch.
How do you do that?
I go, okay, fine. They wake me up nicely. They just tickle my face, nicely wake up. It's like, okay, I just wake up with a smile. And they're going to stretch me left and right, shake me up and try to get the heart rate going. And walk into a fight a couple of times, I feel them, they're nervous. I'll stop and go, come here, guys, come here. Breathe, guys, relax. I'm at home. I got this.
How do you do that? How? How do you fall asleep? Like, if there is a time where I have a hard time falling asleep, it's when I'm about to do something very significant, because you're like in your mind, right? So how do you shut your mind and relax?
I'll do that a day before the fight. Day before the fight, we'll all go check the cage. We'll all have to, all the fighters go over there and step in and get the feel for the cage. And every time the ring in Japan's, and we come in, we get together, we do a pray, one tear will come down the mat. And that's it. And after that, I'm numb. I'll go back to my room. I'll lay down the night before. And I'll bring my coaches, the corner man. The guys are going to be in my corner. My father, my brother, my cousin. I'll put them in my room. I'll lay down, shut down the lights, and I'll dictate to them exactly what's going to happen. I'll visualize the fight, and I'll tell them. Not the good parts, but all the bad parts too. If I get hit, I'm going to, for them to know me. If I get stuck on this position, if the guy gets on top of me, if I get on top of the opponent, I'll dictate the entire fight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. If this goes wrong, don't panic, guys. I got this. You went wrong. I'll dictate the whole fight to them. And the next day, I'm just numb. I'm not thinking about dinner. I'm not thinking about going home.
You know, I say when I get nervous, I realize that my audience is one, and it's God. And so I just delegate all of the nerves to him. And so if I do right by him, that's great. If I don't do right by him, I believe in his forgiveness. And so when you're able to just delegate the nerves and just take it outside of yourself, you're able to kind of like cope and control with incredibly nerve-wracking situations. But it's like your family unit, this village that you've built has been like a fortress almost around you.
Oh, when they come out with me, yes, they're there to protect me. And they told me before, there's a point that when you walk in the cage, we cannot walk in with you. We're going to stay outside. Once that cage, the door locks, it's only going to be you. So Until that point, we're going to be with you. After that is on you, but we're going to be mentally tripping the opponent.
Right.
They told me that.
Mental signals. So so I know, okay, so you're able to control your nerves very well and keep your calm. Are you able to apply that in your other part of your life and in your relationships? Are you also like that?
But the controlling of the nerves on a fight or in life is be able to understand. I train. I can, if I saw something that the opponent could do to me, I'll go back to the cage, to the ring and fix it before the fight. So I cannot see how I can lose. I cannot see it. I lost twice in my career, but it was total different. But I can, if I saw it, I would go back and train.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get in there, it's the automatic pilot takes over.
Okay, I understand now. It's the confidence that you have.
The confidence on the technique.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what about areas where you don't have that kind of confidence that you'll get what you want?
And that's what Jiu-Jitsu teach people. Teach you how to make a fast decision when you're in a scramble fighting and somebody bigger and stronger get on top of you, you got to decide. Sometimes you have fractions of a second. He's going to catch me in an arm lock. He's going to choke me out. And I have a fraction of a second to decide, do I go this way or that way to escape? So I got to decide fast. I got to make a decision. So it's a decision-making art.
Right. But in those environments, like you're describing, you have less control because it's the real world. There aren't people around you. There isn't a cage.
If I'm walking down New York City,
yes,
I'm quoting my father, and a piano falls from a building on my head, is meant to be.
Okay.
I understand life. It's out of my control. So I'm not going to walk around nervous, you see. But what's the chance of a piano from a building in New York City to fall? So it's out of your control. So I don't live in a nervous life.
All right. I want to tell you the most nerve-wracking thing in my mind is once you become a parent. I didn't know fear until I gave birth to 3 children. It's the scariest thing in the world. And so do you have those kinds of nerves where, what if something's going to happen to your daughter, or I don't know. I just think being a parent it can be very nerve-wracking. Are you able to apply that same mental state to parenting?
Same thing. Like I said in the beginning, as a parent, it's my job to protect you guys. If you don't do your job, I can do mine. So go get in trouble.
So you're pretty chill.
So I can get you out of trouble. But if something happened in my family, we understand, let's say. So if something happened, it's like, okay, there's anything I can do to fix it. There's anything I can do to help. If there is not, solve it is.
Do you think you're a strict parent or easygoing?
Depend. My father used to say, and I apply this to my kids today, until about 16, 17, they're your kids. After that, they're not your kids anymore. Let's hope they become your friends. Sometimes they're not. So let's hope they become friends with you. So, and I took that to the dot. It's like, became my friends. See, we talk like friends. Don't talk, they tell me, I want to do this. I'm going to go, okay, well, you're not upset? Dude, you already decide. It's your decision. You're the one's going to do it. So,
but are they reliant on you? Like in the United States, many, many children stay on their part of their parents' responsibility for many years, past 24 years oftentimes. So you'll find 24-year-olds living with their parents. Parents are still taking care of them. Is that something that could fly with you? Or do you say, okay, you're 17, live your life, good luck?
I thought in America, when they turn 17, they kick kids out of the house. Go live your life. Go, you do your thing. No, in Brazil, we're very family.
Yeah.
They stay home until old age. They get married, they stay home. It's like
They're part of the family.
they're
So,
family,
but
yes.
with the trouble and without the trouble.
With the trouble, without the trouble, yes. But I think the majority is learning how to give up that I am the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not parenting them anymore. If they ask me, they have a problem and they ask my opinion, I'll give it to them. They'll call me, it's like, hey, Dad, I got this going on over here, man. What do you think? Good or bad? If they tell me I'm going to do this, my youngest wants to be a lawyer. Okay. I'm not going to tell her, no, don't be a lawyer, be a doctor, because she's the one who's going to do it. It's like, you don't have anything to say against that? No. You're the one who's going to go to school, not me. So go do your thing, girl.
Do they listen to you? Your kids?
Yeah, they listen. They listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes they pretend they don't, but I know they listen.
Are you still teaching?
8 months of the year.
Where?
I travel all over the world, dude.
What does that work look like?
I go to schools, teach the schools and the teachers, the students, teach everybody. There's so much demand on learn Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
And you're very popular in the Middle East, right? The UAE has it as part of their PE classes in school?
The UAE put in the schools, yes.
How did that happen?
Sheikh Tarnoum came to America, learned Jiu-Jitsu without letting people know who he was. And then he went back, invited his instructor that was here, one of our instructors, his instructor was here to go over there and teach, and that's when they realized who he was. He liked it so much, training for many years, became mandatory to learn, to teach in the school. So it's like kids learn basketball, volleyball, jiu-jitsu.
Is it working well there? Are you getting any interesting reports?
Because they know how much confidence that jiu-jitsu gives the students on teaching them how to defend themselves. We're not teaching them how to become fighters. We're teaching them how to defend themselves, not to get bullied by others, how to protect the little ones. So yes, and they become more of I would say it helps understanding the teachers and not to argue back, and discipline. It gives them discipline and respect, and that's all. Jiu-Jitsu teach all that. It's not just teaching them the martial art.
Yeah.
No, we're teaching respect. We're teaching you have to be on time. You have to bring the equipment, the gi. Oh, my mom forgot the gi. It's not your mom's problem, kid. You have to pack your gi.
The gi is the clothing, right?
The clothing, yeah, the kimono, yes. So they have to teach them discipline. They teach everything.
Is it very popular in Brazil? I'd imagine,
yes. In Brazil, it's very, very popular.
What are the chances that you think jiu-jitsu would be in American schools? Would that be good for young Americans? I'm assuming you would say yes, but what do you think the benefits would be?
You teach them discipline. You teach them confidence, respect. So every school should have it. Not just the kids that are getting bullied, but the kid who is bullying them needs jiu-jitsu. Why? I never heard anybody saying, why is he bullying the other ones? The big one is picking on the little ones. Why? Because he doesn't have confidence. So he have to show the way for him to prove to himself is to beat up and pick on the little ones, on the small ones, and bully them to prove it to himself that he's tough. But if you learn martial art, if you learn Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, he will know how tough he is.
It's such an interesting way to channel natural masculinity in young men into a positive thing, as opposed to constantly yelling at them for having toxic masculinity and all of that. Rather than doing that, giving them this tool to develop their confidence and to use their nature to do good, I guess.
The toxic masculinity, whatever you call that, I don't even know how to pronounce that because I don't believe on that. I don't believe it. Men have to be men. You see, boys have to be boys. You see, well, but he wants to play with the girls. Boy have to be boy. Sorry, I'm old-fashioned. You can call me old-fashioned, old school, whatever. But yes.
One of the things you always say is that you won't start a fight, but you won't walk away from a fight. What do you mean by that? And so if a bully goes to a kid in high school and starts a fight with him, what do you think the right thing we should tell our boys to do?
Putting myself in the situation. Traffic situation. Guy comes out, yells at me, call me names. My hands are gonna go up. Excuse me. Watch how you talk to me. Not your mother. Don't talk to me like this. I'm not walking away. I'm not fighting him. I'm showing to him I'm going to stand my ground. You see, so it's going to be right off the bat. He's going to read on my forehead. Don't mess with him. It's like this one has psychological issues. He got the toxic masculinity. He got some yes, zero problems, but I'm going to stand my ground if I'm right. So Jiu-Jitsu teach that to the kids, that you can stand your ground. You're not pushing your boundaries. You're not offending anybody. You see, you come at me cursing, I'm going to stand my ground. Well, hold on, watch it. I'm not your mother, so don't talk to me like this. Now, sorry, I was wrong. I apologize if I'm wrong. I run the stop sign. If I was right, don't. We're gonna argue. I'm gonna prove it to you that I'm right. Let's talk. I don't have to beat you up.
So in the case of a high school kid, you would say they don't necessarily run in and start punching or pulling the person to the ground, but you also say, don't run, go to the teacher and basically ask an expert to come handle it, which I guess is what many of the schools are teaching young boys, which is, run away and go talk to the teacher or the expert. You want to teach that personal responsibility to handle it as well.
He have to take care of it.
Yeah.
Or she have to take care of it. That's how my kids grow. It's like, no, don't. If somebody comes over and yells and talk, whatever, and come at you, if he swings, be ready, because he might swing or she might swing at you. It's like
that comes with the risk,
my
right?
daughter asked me one time, there's a girl over there talking trash about me. I'm going to confront her. What if she grabs my hair? That was her question. I show her what to do. And she's like, okay, she took care of it. Never fought the girl, just talk and clean up. And what's the problem? I'm not going to move schools. I'm going to stay here. We're going to see each other every day. What's the problem? It's like, so deal with it. So, but I didn't tell her that I'm going to take care for you or go talk to the teacher or nah. Same thing with the boys. The boys never came up to me because they took care of it. They already grew up that way.
So it's so interesting to learn more about you and your character, your ability to control your nerves and your focus on discipline. I'm curious, how do you feel about your image? Do you care what people think about you and what they say about you? When you become so famous, you're going to get love and hate, probably in similar amounts. Does that ever get to your head or to your heart?
It bothers me when somebody says they don't like me.
Really?
It bothers. It's like, why? I try to be nice to everybody. I treat everybody equal. I can be in the middle of nowhere and the guys who ask me, hey, can I take a picture? I'll stop everything. I'll take a picture. I'll stop. I'll get up. And you see, it's like when they say, no, I don't like him. Why?
Well, sometimes because they're jealous of you or because people can just be mean. I mean, it's out of your control. Why do you care?
Jealousy is a bad quality. So I got to teach them. I'm an educator. So I got to teach them why you don't like me. It's like, oh, because I'm jealous of your success. Dude, if you work, I'll talk to him. I'll teach him. If you work hard, if you put that discipline, you get good habits, stop with the bad habits, create the good habits. We're creatures of habits. So, and if you do this, if you do that, you will succeed. I'll teach. I'm a teacher by nature. I can teach.
Well, if we could only get jealousy out of human nature, the world would be a slightly better place, probably a much better place, but I don't know if you can control that. So I hope you don't let the insults, especially on the internet, ever get to you, because
No,
they'll try to get to you.
It doesn't get to me, but it's like, if you say, no, I don't like it, it's like, don't like Royce. It's like, I'm going to be like, why? It's a simple question. Why? Tell me why. Oh, because you do this way, because you like guns.
Okay, don't read the comments on this episode because I don't want you to get upset. And people just write mean things because they're going to be so jealous of everything, your discipline, your looks, your success, your like the whole thing. That's why. That's why.
But people say, I don't like you because you like guns. I'm not asking you to like guns.
Yes.
So I like guns. You don't like guns. Nice to meet you too. Yeah. That was awesome. But don't make me not like guns, or I'm not making you like the guns. So
if only common sense was actually common.
Yes.
So you had a chance to live in so many different countries around the world. You travel so much. You obviously chose the United States of America, even though you could live anywhere you want. But you know quite a bit about Brazil. And for so many of us who are living here in the United States, we're watching Brazil, and we're very curious about what is happening over there. When we go there for fun, it looks like a lot of fun. People seem like they're having a great time, but we're watching an erosion of freedoms in a way that is very scary to see a country that could be thriving. And so I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on what is happening in Brazil right now, the country that you were born to?
I call Brazil a fake freedom. You have freedom in here. A lot of party, yeah, go party, go to the beach, blah, 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 blah. But you don't have the freedom. The freedom, example, if you want to buy a gun, you can't. It's almost impossible. They make it so difficult.
Does it make things safer there? Because here we're told that if they could just take everybody's guns away, then we can have less shootings.
I heard one year, I was with the former president from Brazil, Bolsonaro's sons. We met with NRA. That was right before Bolsonaro got into the power, became the president. We went to the NRA, and the son was telling them, he's a congressman in Brazil, was telling them that more people died that year in Brazil with gunshot wounds than in Iraq during the war, that year. Wow. In a country that you cannot buy guns, all the bad guys have it. So you can buy small, very small caliber. 9mm is already considered to be military grade. So 45, forget it.
So all the good people can't defend themselves.
So they cannot. It's in the paperwork. If you try to buy a gun legally, the paperwork is so long, a year to 2 years to buy a gun, and costs so much more. Sometimes the paperwork costs more than the gun itself. So they make it so difficult. The background checks and paperwork here and tax stamp on this, tax stamp on that, and it's almost impossible. Most people just abandon, say, you know what, forget it. But then the bad guys have it. They all have guns and high caliber rifles.
If you lived in Brazil, though, you could probably, first of all, you can defend yourself, and you have a massive family that can help defend you, and you could probably afford a guard. And so is that the reason you choose to live in the United States? Is it just because you are able to buy guns?
It's the freedom the United States have. The patriotism. I love this over here. The American flag. We are good. We are the best. We are the world champion in basketball, in football, in baseball, the world champion in hockey. It's like they put themselves above everybody. The patriotism, I love that in America. Every time I hear the national anthem, I get goosebumps. So it's a country where you have the freedom to speak, and they're trying to take that away.
Yeah.
Happened in Brazil. If you talk trash against the government, they arrest you. They'll freeze your bank accounts. It's like over he's coming to America now.
Well, in Brazil, they use the justice system.
The Justice Department can they are above the president. But they work for the president. But they are above the president. You cannot take them down. So they set it up in such a way, and that's what I see is coming from Brazil to America.
Yeah, I think people are deceived to think that, well, it's just in the courts, so the courts will do the right thing, and the judges, they'll do the right thing. Except that if you watch what's happening in Brazil, time and time again, the courts and the judges are not doing the right thing. They're just in absolute control, and there is no freedom, and you can't fire them, and there are no term limits. So they're just there to reign over 220 million people.
And if you say something against the government, they will totally cancel you, arrest you, put you in jail, throw the keys away. It's like unbelievable. And that's happening in America. It's coming. It's slowly take the guns away from the people. If you take your guns away, we cannot defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And then the bad guys take over and take the cops away from the streets. Cops are violent. It will become chaos. And let the government control all the media. It's like, no. Because then we lose freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you ready to fight for America?
I've been fighting for America. I have. It's my country. And the way I tell my kids, if America falls, the whole world, the rest of the world will fall. This is the last stronghold. We talked many about this. Where would we go?
Nowhere.
There's nowhere. This is the best country in the world. It's the country that gives the opportunity. My brother was panhandling, asking money, sleeping on the streets, living a bum, not because he didn't, because he wanted. He found construction, working at the construction, but didn't have enough money, so he had to sleep at the construction site, eating bread and water. Do you see? It's like, and he built this whole empire, give the job to everybody in the Jiu-Jitsu community.
Yeah.
In the MMA community. So it's possible. It's nowhere else.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to serving this great country alongside you. It's been a great talk. I loved learning so much about you and Jiu-Jitsu and your family. And welcome to PragerU. I hope you'll come back many more times. Thanks again for being here.
It's my pleasure. Let's talk again soon.